With me now is the Executive Director for Concerned Veterans of America, Mark Lucas. Mark, the Trump campaigned on improving the conditions at the VA, and I believe that this is a step in the right direction, adding money to the VA Choice and Quality Employment Act, giving the $2 billion. But does that go far enough? And remind me how many people actually are covered by VA Health.
You're right that this is another campaign promise that's been fulfilled by President Trump. But more important, this is a promise that he's fulfilled to veterans. In my home state of Iowa, I watched at that point Mr. Trump travel across the state and travel all across the country campaigning on a 10-point plan to reform the VA. And he has executed on that with the VA Accountability Act and also with this Choice Act. And like you mentioned earlier, it all started back in 2014 in Phoenix, Arizona, when we had that waitlist scandal where veterans were dying. So it was important to understand that the initial Choice Act was really a short-term solution to address that problem. It was never envisioned to be a long-term policy position that we needed to really fund in order to give veterans the ability to not go to a VA failing facility, but to have the choice to go outside to seek care in the community that the VA wasn't able to provide them world-class care, or if they weren't able to be seen in a timely fashion.
Well, and that's really important, not just in big cities, but the people that are living in rural communities. They don't have access to the VA hospitals like people in bigger cities. Now, what the issue is that a lot of people are resisting, not people, but there is a resistance, there's a pushback to allowing people to go see the doctors of their choice. Why is that?
It's unbelievable because when you poll the American people, when you poll active duty service members, and when you poll veterans, it's a 90% issue. Over 90% of these folks believe that veterans deserve to have a choice. And it's a pretty simple concept that we as veterans, we made a choice to serve our country overseas. We should have a choice to seek the health care that really fits our needs. In my hometown of Iowa City, Iowa, I should be able to go to the VA if they can provide me the care I need. If they can't, I should literally be able to walk across the street to the University of Iowa healthcare system to be able to seek my care. So unfortunately, there's people that want to double down and invest in a bureaucracy instead of really focusing on the mission, and that's to provide veterans the care they deserve. Again, it's a 90% issue. Concerned Veterans for America, we've been talking about this since our inception. Choice makes sense for veterans. They deserve the health care that they can get out in the community.
Well, and as I mentioned, especially people living in rural communities that don't have access to the facilities like other communities, they have to drive, hours to get to a VA. And so people don't realize how important it is for them to see a local doctor rather than having to go drive to a facility. And so that's one of the big things. But this $2 billion, is that enough? And I was asking you how many people are covered by the VA? Like 10 million are in the VA health care program?
This $2 billion may not be enough. The reason why we're back here talking about the reinvestment in the Choice program is because they've ran out of money prematurely. So we're hoping that this investment will fund the VA Choice program throughout the end of the year. But we may, again, have this discussion in 2 or 3 months. They're spending money at a rapid pace just because this Choice program was not built for the long term. So we understand that this is the first step in terms of a broader debate. In Concerned Veterans for America, we believe in true choice. It shouldn't be based off of an arbitrary wait time number, which right now is 30 days, or an arbitrary mileage requirement, which is 40 miles. You mentioned earlier about rural America. There are many facilities that don't provide the access necessary for veterans. We have a field director down in Texas who talks about how he's got to drive several hours to a VA facility, and he passes over 7 different hospitals that could serve his care. So right now we understand that we are going to have a broader discussion on what choice should look like and how we need to restructure the VA.
Yeah, that's really important. Mark, really quickly, we're almost out of time. I wanted to talk about the Whistleblower Protection Act. That was something that President Trump signed about a couple months ago, and that might be necessary in the D.C. area?
Absolutely. The whistleblower protection component of this is very important because we have great VA employees as well. People I've served with over in Afghanistan that wanted to come back and serve veterans in a different way, to go to work at the VA hospitals. And they've seen firsthand some of the problems, and we need to be able to give them the support. If they step forward and do the right thing to call bad VA employees out, we must protect them. So I think that is an overlooked part of this legislation. There are a lot of great VA employees who are focused on the mission of serving veterans. We got to provide them the protection they need to do the right thing.